Okay, so you have your worksheet in front of you. I told you to flip it on the back, and this is where we're going to start doing some practice with some lettering, okay? All right, so we're going to practice first with the letter A. I'm going to kind of scooch this down just a touch. Let me see if I'm staying within both of my screens here. Yeah, kind of, sort of. Okay, so we start with the letter A. So to start with that, just draw, you don't have to make it huge, just draw capital letter A. And we're going to go through the motions of how do you block those letters out. So like I said, some of you know how to do this, some of you don't. Okay, so the way that I start is I like to put in all my end caps. And what I mean by that is I like to put in my horizontal lines where like the letter starts and stops. So I'm going to do that for both of the legs. So I'm going to space them out a little bit, and I'll just kind of have two floaty horizontal lines down there. So at each of the legs. And then I'm also going to put one underneath this, underneath and above this middle line. So one right here, one right here. Notice that I'm not connecting to anything, they're just floating. Okay, and I'm going to have one at the very top. Just like that. Okay, so then I need to connect them all out. All right, so I am going to start over here on the left-hand side, and I'm going to start up here at this top floating line. So I'm basically just going to parallel line it. So I'm just going to mimic that diagonal so that I can make both of these two floaties attached together. So something like that. Then I'm going to go here to this other side, and I'm going to attach them there. So it's kind of becoming almost like a connect the dots type situation. Then this one here. And then my last one on the very right-hand side. And then here in the middle, I need to make a little space. And I forgot to put in one little floaty horizontal. So basically what I'm drawing here in the middle is kind of like a trapezoid. So that one's a little smaller up there, and then I've got two diagonals on either side. Okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and erase out that original letter A that I had. There you go. Okay, guys, so now we're going to learn, we're going to make this letter 3D, okay? What's up?
So whenever we're drawing these, like, I know how to draw them, but I don't draw them exactly like how you were showing. But if we know how to, but it can like look similar, so we just draw them like the way that we like.
Yeah, that's okay. As long as you get like this point across, you can do it your way. That's fine, okay? All right, so, but now we're going to make it 3D. So I don't know if that'll change kind of depending on, but we're just going to use kind of the same strategies that we've been using, almost like that 1 point. So for our letter A, it's slide number 18 in the slideshow. It's showing you how to go step by step here. So I'm going to draw that out with you. So our letter A is we're gonna seeing it from the underneath side. So all of our pretty much diagonals, like if we drew a point, are gonna go down and to the right. So let's just start with our corners, okay? Let's just start with this bottom corner over here on the left-hand side. So we're gonna draw a diagonal going down and to the right on that corner. And then we'll do the same for the next corner. And then let's just go ahead and close that off. So we've made like a little box. And then let's repeat those same steps for the other leg. So still going in the same direction, down to the right, and then kind of close off the box. Okay, something new that we're kind of learning is we've really only been working on corners that have been coming outwards. I call them kind of outy corners. Well, we're going to do the same thing with innie corners also. So this is like an innie corner. We're going to just draw the same kind of line coming out from right here. So it's still a diagonal down and to the right. Now we are just going to close up and make this into a box by creating this parallel line to this one. Okay, so we just finished that out. And then we're being selective on what side we see things, okay? So we're only seeing things off kind of like the right-hand side. So this part of the leg is blocking our view. So all we have to do for that is we're just mimicking this line, and it just goes and disappears, or it just stops right when it touches that other part of the leg. You guys see visually how that works out? Okay, where you're just seeing it from these sides and we're seeing it from the underneath. Okay, so we're gonna jump all the way up here to this top right hand corner, and that gets our little diagonal as well. And then we connect those out. Okay, so here we're showing like we can see the underneath side of the letter, and we can see it coming in from the right hand side. So we wouldn't necessarily draw anything that would be to the left. That doesn't visually make sense. The last thing that we have to do is this little middle part, and it's a little tricky in the sense of you got to figure out, it kind of depends on how large you made this. So everybody just kind of watch what I'm doing first and see if you have to put a line in or if you don't. So what you got to look at is we're making the next 3D part. So I'm actually kind of going off of this line. So if I were to extend this up, and I'm going to do it in a dotted line and follow that path, did I go inside my shape or is it on the outside of it? Okay, so for me, you don't see that line. So you try in your A, make your little kind of dotted line. If your line goes through that part, then you need to make it solid wherever it goes through. Does that make sense? So let's say if my angle was a little different, if my angle would have been like that, and it would have gone through, then all I would have done was just create a little line right there. Okay, but that's not the case in mine. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay, and then we have one more line in there. We're kind of following this. So we're going to come up to this little any corner, and that's going to just follow that same down and to the right diagonal, and it ends when it touches the other side. So just like that. Okay? All right, everybody good on that? Come up from this corner inside your little trapezoid, and you just make a down and to the right diagonal, and it stops when you hit this side. It should not, if you drew that bottom line, it shouldn't go through it. No, so you might have to change your angle a little bit. So it might be something like that. Let me show you up on the screen. Let me show you. See this one right here? It's because we don't have any value. That's why. So like this line comes up, see right there? And then this one comes over that way.
Oh, so when you color it in.
Don't color it in, just leave it. But yeah, do you guys see that now?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So it looks weird until you until you would shade it. But we aren't gonna do that just yet. Okay, now we're gonna tackle a curved letter. So we're gonna do a letter S. Okay, so start by drawing yourself a capital letter S. Try to make it as even as you possibly can. Okay, then we're going to end cap these. So I'll have one kind of floating above that one and below the top one. And then basically you're just following your S curve around. So on this bottom end cap, I'm gonna start on the left-hand side, and I'm gonna go underneath, And I'm trying to be like equidistant all the way around. So I'm trying to keep the same amount of distance between both lines as much as possible. And I'm gonna kind of come up and curve, and then I'm gonna connect it in with the left side of this end, top end cap. And then I'm gonna repeat for the next one, and it just goes above. So on the right hand side here, want to try to keep equidistance all the way throughout. And then I'm going to erase out that inner letter that I had there. We're going to kind of change our perspective a little bit. So instead of our diagonals going down and to the right, they're going to go up and to the right. So let's start with this bottom end cap here. So we're going to have those go up and to the right. So diagonal, diagonal, and then just finish that out. So it should be like straight horizontal across. Okay, then we're going to hit another diagonal up here on this top corner. So that's an up and to the right. And then am I gonna put one off of this corner? Why not? Because you shouldn't be able to see it. That front of the S is blocking it, okay? So instead, we have to kind of place it in a couple different areas. The first one that I'm gonna start with is down here. So we're gonna kind of switch gears and go from the top of the S down here to, right about the center of this curve, and we're gonna place a diagonal line coming from there. And then you've got two different choices, and it's kind of based on preference, and I don't think either one of them is right or wrong, just kind of your preference. So I'm gonna show you the first one, and then I'm probably gonna change it because I like the second option better personally. So we did this vertical line down here, and then we're gonna go straight kind of across, and we're gonna put one there. And then let's just go ahead and close that by mimicking this curved line. So it'd be something like that. Okay, that's option one for that. Okay, the other option is instead of putting that diagonal line over here, you can just take this and you can just let it disappear. I personally like this better, but you can choose whichever one you want. Let's come back down to this bottom diagonal, and what we're gonna do is we're going to mimic this line. When you get up to about right here, when the S starts changing direction, you're gonna do the technique that I just showed you. You're just gonna let it fade or disappear or connect right into that line. So here's what I mean. So I'm gonna go around my S here. I'm gonna mimic that curve, and then as I start coming up to this area, I'm just gonna let it disappear behind there, or just let it connect into that line so it looks like it's disappearing. Okay, last spot is this side over here, and we're gonna kind of use the same technique. So we're gonna follow along and make a curve like that, and we're gonna let it just disappear or connect right around in this area. So I'm gonna kind of go straight down, then I'm gonna start curving, and then let it connect. Okay. Now we're gonna try it on a little bit complicated shape. I'm gonna try and go a little quickly on that, and then we'll start working on our first project. No, we're not. We're gonna start working on the front side of our worksheet. Okay, so we're gonna try out a lightning bolt. I'll put one up here on the screen for you guys to look at. So just draw this pink draw on the pink lightning bolt, and I'll draw it here for it. I'll draw it with you. I mean, you can't see me right now, but I'll draw it with you. So just try to copy it the best you can. It's basically just a lot of diagonal lines that just keep changing directions. And then they just come down to a point. Okay, so something like that. I'll switch over to where you can see me here in a sec. There we go, something like that. We're gonna go back to kind of the same direction that we had for the letter A. So it'll be on the right hand side, and we're gonna see from the underneath. So all of our diagonals are gonna go down and to the right, and we're gonna have a lot of them, okay? So we're gonna work on this right hand side because that's the side we wanna see. So I'm gonna start up here at the top corner, and there's my first diagonal. I'm gonna jump down to that second corner. There's my second diagonal, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and close that up. So parallel line to this one. So those should match. So basically when you're doing 3D on a letter, basically all of your lines just need to be parallel with each other. Kind of like this. So I'm drawing little arrows to show you guys. Like these two lines are parallel and these two lines are parallel. And that happens throughout the whole thing. Does that make sense to everybody? That's kind of like a quick cheat guide. Okay? All right. We've got an any corner. Okay? So we're still going to put one of those diagonals there. So here's our diagonal for that any corner. And then I'm matching this line right there to cap that off. So it kind of changes directions. I'm going to jump down to this corner and put in that diagonal, and then I'm going to connect those two out just like this. Got another any corner, so I'm going to do that again, and then I'll close that out. So again, just use the parallel line rule. Okay, got two options for this last one also. I like the second option look better, but you can choose. So this one's still technically a corner, so if you want to keep it chunky, you can bring that diagonal line and finish it out like that. Or your second option is you take that out, and we're going to kind of change, whoops, didn't mean to draw that. So instead of having that there, you could just bring that down to the point if you wanted to. Either one will work. All right, any questions on that? Okay, you guys know how to make more complex three-dimensional forms now.